97. How is that in every city, right?
Hot
There's a
97.
Hot 97.
There is a Hot 97.
Right? Every city.
Is it the same channel?
I don't think so. Nah. Oh, because the Hot 97 in Cali is like Big Boy, right?
Yeah.
And then
No, I thought Big Boy was like 105. No, he is like Hot 97 or something like that.
or one of them other dudes that like everybody knows and talks about.
Let me see. Maybe hold the mic a little closer. Move it a little closer. Sorry for the. There we go.
Here to my face.
Yeah, that works.
Jesus Christ.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have Gilbert and Brandon coming to you with another episode of Unfiltered Privilege.
I think Luch is better.
You think Luch is better?
I think Luch is better, man.
Let's run it back. All right, everybody. Here is Gilbert and Luch coming to you with another episode of Unfiltered Privilege, coming back after the holidays.
It sounds like we're on a smooth jazz station. Like
Yeah.
the way you introed that.
Starting the shit is always kind of weird, man, until we hit the niche, but whatever. So
That's good nonetheless, but tons of shit has happened, bro, since a month, right? I mean, I think it's been a month.
It's been about a month.
Since our first, trial. My God, man, I don't even know where to start. But you seem pretty hype on the H&M Monkey Boy, so I would love to start there.
I'm pretty hyped on the H&M Monkey Boy.
Was it coolest monkey in the jungle? Right?
Yeah, coolest monkey in the jungle. So just to keep it formal and elaborate.
That is a dope sweater.
In case you don't have social media or follow up on current events, H&M dropped this ad of this little African looking kid, and he had a green sweater on that said "coolest monkey in the jungle," and of course, the world is tripping over that, saying this is racist. We're gonna boycott H&M. Don't go there. Don't buy any clothes from there. We need to do better. And I get it, bro. Like, I do understand, like, where people are coming from and how you would interpret that as racist, but it almost seems to me now with certain things like this is kind of like an arbitrary accusal. You know what I mean? At what point does it really matter?
Exactly. I don't see any importance in it. Bro, I see H&M is the fucking target of clothes stores, right? It's a bit better than Old Navy. Why make such a big fucking deal about them putting a little boy on an ad? And then just recently, I was telling you that, his mom came out with the response saying that she don't even give a fuck.
What do you know what her exact response was? Like,
I don't know the exact wording of it, but she didn't give a fuck about.
Yeah.
She's saying that it's over. It's being like over publicized, overused. I mean, honestly, man, and it kind of is. It's really influencing, and it's really it's gassing this fucking movement of keeping racism in the front line. See, it says here. She says, "Stop crying wolf stop crying wolf all the time," and that's literally what's happening, man. I think, and it's not only Black America, right? It's not only Black America that's doing this, man, because white guilt and I hate, what I'm saying? I hate using those words, but it's instantly, but it really is that. It's just keeping all this shit in the fucking limelight. It's keeping it in the forefront, like. This is so important. This is so important. You know what I mean? Like, everything is racist. Everything you do is racist. Everything you say is racist. Everything you are is racist. You know what I mean? And it's a bad image to give to our fucking kids, bro, that are watching this.
So, but what do you think about? There's a lot of people that maintain that we need to keep this into the forefront. We need to constantly focus on racial disparity. And what I think are a lot, and I'm not by any means sitting here saying racism doesn't exist, right, because of course it does. It's gonna happen every day. It's gonna happen. You know what I mean? It's whenever it can.
Of course.
But I think a lot of people are delusional about how often it actually does happen.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people have this idea to where, like, if you're an African American or you're a minority, like, every day you wake up, you walk outside, you're at a disadvantage, and you should be fearing for your life, which I don't necessarily think that is 100% true, man.
It can't be, honestly, man. We live in America, bro. Like, literally, and it might sound corny, cliche, but it's the best country in the motherfucking world. Like, if you, it's insane to me that it is a thing, and you're not wrong. Like you're not wrong that it is that it's well and alive, especially now.
Yeah, yeah. Coming from two minorities, quote unquote,
Of
like
course,
we definitely have to sit here and acknowledge that. But I think,
I don't think everything is racist.
yeah, and I just honestly think that's where like your IQ comes into play. You know what I mean? I mean,
100%.
I think if you have a high enough IQ, you can kind of avoid the identity politics of this shit. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people want to feel connected to a team, a side, whether it's I'm black and the only thing I can really identify with is like Black Lives Matter, or you're a white person and the only thing you can identify is, you know, the extreme right and pro Trump and pro all of these pull yourself up by your bootstrap type thing, which I think mostly are the extremists, man. Mostly are the extremists. I think people with
It's on both sides, though. I hate to sound like Trump,
yeah.
but it's on both. It is coming from both sides.
100. But a lot of people would beg to differ. A lot of people were saying that no, it's only because of the far right and these racist fucking people. And here's my another thing I've been thinking about, man. I think back to H&M, for example. I think that, and I posted this, and I immediately took it down because I felt insecure for some reason. But I posted, if you get upset, if you're that upset about this that you're willing to condemn an entire company out of which is probably only a couple of individuals, you know what I mean? There's black people that work at H&M, you know. There's loads of people that are employed by them. But if we keep going down this path to where like we want to call everything racist, I think it is actually going to sway good non-racist white people to be more prejudiced and actually become racist.
100%, because
you know what I mean.
It almost lumps them into this.
Yeah.
Every black person is a bad person.
Yeah.
Every white person is a racist, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which isn't the case, right? And as being myself, have been a victim of racism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, but I don't think everything is racist. But then again, I'm not black. You as a black man, right? Growing up as a black man, light-skinned black man, still a black man. Do you feel that way? Do you think that that's a reality in your circumstance?
In my personal reality, I've definitely been in situations to where it was questionable. You know what I mean? There's been times where I guess I've been in a restaurant and I'll sit down, somebody else will sit down after me, and then they'll get, attended to a little bit more differently than I have. But
I've had that too.
I've also been in a situation where I've sat in a restaurant or at the bank, for example, and a black guy will walk up, and there's two tellers. I'm a black teller and there's a white teller next to me, and a black guy will walk up, and the white teller is closer to him, but you can see it in his body language to where he avoids going to the white person. And I'm like, okay, well, if I was a white person, I would think of that as the same exact thing. Like, oh, well, he's only going to him because he's black, or he doesn't want to come to me because I'm white. You know what I mean? I think there's two different sides of the coin depending on how you perceive it. But as far as like every day now, I do think I have more power to not let racism be a factor in my life as opposed to someone else, because of how I can adapt and how I can speak. And a lot of people would say, "Oh yeah, man, you're just putting on the whitewash thing." It's like, no, that's not the shit at all. Like, I just like to be able to communicate clearly and effectively, and I think a lot of that gets tied up with, "Oh, you're acting white," which is not really the case.
I just look at it like it's words. You know what I mean? And I'm, as a parent, that's how I'm raising my kid. Like, these are motherfucking words. Don't let words try to bring you down. I mean, I get it. Sometimes it is, it's the manner in which it's said or the tone or whatever it is, but irregardless, it's fucking words, bro. Like, it's words. You know what I mean? And then again, being a victim myself, and now as a grown up, I'm like, fuck. It hurt me back then. I was like, damn, that's fucked up. They were calling me a beaner, or they were calling me a this or that, wetback. I said, now as a grown up, I'm like, man, fuck that. I want to give my kid the mindset of like, fuck that, it's words.
Yeah.
And then, but if they start getting live, then get live. You know what I mean? But don't let these words get into your head, right? And I guess it's easier said than done. But I think as a society, we're letting a lot of words
really affect this, right?
Every word though, bro.
And bro, just think about it.
Think
about it. African Americans, man, we've gone from being lynched and not being able to be served, you know what I mean? And directly told, oh, we don't serve you niggers or whatever it is, to now a I don't know, what's H&M worth? Millions, billions?
It's gotta be billions.
Let's say
everybody's
billions.
wearing it,
Now a multi-billion-dollar company on their storefront or on their website have an African American child or person, you know what I mean, who they paid.
I mean, he's getting paid.
He's getting paid. He's a model,
well.
you know what I mean? So I'm just like, okay, now I still understand to where, you know, some people would say, oh, well, it's the messaging. They're trying to get to your subconscious saying, you know, you guys are still monkeys or whatever. But by at least let's acknowledge the fact that we're no longer being lynched anymore. Let's acknowledge the fact that it is law that you cannot be racially discriminatory. Like as a business, you cannot discriminate because of race, ethnicity, like beliefs.
18.82 billion.
18.82 billion? Oh man. See? Well,
but you're absolutely right.
Like, so I think let's at least acknowledge the fact that we're not there anymore, and I think we're still acting like we're there.
Well, I just think people overthink things.
Oh yeah.
Right? They think that it's 6 white guys in a motherfucking room like, this would be so funny. Put a monkey sweater on the little black boy. You know what I mean? They think it's that.
It's fun to think that though, right? Sometimes
it is.
For some reason.
Absolutely it is. And shit, myself, bro, I get lost in it sometimes.
Yeah.
But then again, like, you got to think realistically. Like, do you really think... I can almost guarantee it's probably a couple people, a couple gay dudes, a couple women, you know what I mean, just super stylish, incredible people that were just like, oh, great. Oh, this kid has swag in the motherfucker. Put this sweater on him. You know what I mean? And put this little white... I'm sure they have a bunch of pictures with little white boys in that sweater. Or even little girls in that sweater.
Yeah.
But they were like, yo, this kid looks the best in this fucking sweater.
Yeah.
The contrast of the darker skin with the green, like, it looks good, bro. Like, as minorities, we make shit look dope. So I can almost guarantee it was that. It wasn't an overthought, like, this is really going to bring down the African-American community.
But do you think there was at least some type of acknowledgement there? Maybe no one wanted to bring it up, but you think when let's say it's a slideshow, and you have all these different kids, and then that kid comes up, coolest monkey in the jungle. Do you think anybody had the individual thought, well, that's kind of racist? But also, what if they were in a room full of 15 people and didn't want to be the one to you know to bring it up?
If it is 15 people, then statistically, at least 2 or 3 of those motherfuckers had to grab it, like either laughed or were like, oh shit, this is a little racist. But then again, I don't think everything is subliminally messages like that. Honestly, man.
I don't think so either. I mean, after a while, you do you dive deep into the conspiracy of these certain things, which I don't think is a really good.
I'm sure there are though. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm sure there are.
But to actually base your reaction and put that much energy into it over a conspiracy that may not, I really think it's arbitrary, man. Because at the end of the day, you're still gonna have to go to work. You're still gonna have to clock in and put food on the table. So it's kind of like, well.
But then again, you see like shit, like these kids that I just showed you, know, that they went into H&M acting like monkeys, you know, making a scene and it's stuff like that, right? I saw another guy going into H&M and he's screaming up a scene, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, the employees didn't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as somebody who worked at the bank, you know, I worked at the bank and just worked in customer service, not, you know what I mean? And everybody who works in customer service, they know that sometimes, like, I mean, not sometimes, when it happens, it's a shitty feeling.
Yeah.
When they come in and they're like, you stole my fucking money, you fucking did this, or you did that, it's like, bro, I didn't do shit. Like, I fucking work here.
I just work here, man.
I come and I fucking clock in every single fucking day. I don't come to your job yelling at you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so in that aspect, bro, I think that's fucked up.
That is fucked
Like,
up.
if you're gonna boycott H&M, don't fucking wear them anymore.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't go to their stores. Tell your fucking family. Tell your friends. Post it on Facebook. Whatever the fuck you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Do that.
You still reserve the right to not spend your
Of
dollars
course, bro.
there, you know, but
your dollars is your vote of the success of that fucking company. Don't give them your fucking vote.
yeah.
It's that simple. Why go into the store? Why act a fool? Why mess with these employees who
Well, I'll
gotta
tell
go
you
home?
why. If you notice, if all the people that go into the store, they're recording themselves. So it's not a genuine. I don't believe it's a genuine. I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna confront someone or people that work for an organization I don't deal with. It's I'm gonna do this and draw attention to myself. This is a hot topic right now.
See, which takes me to another point in that in social media has been almost such a fucking poison, bro. I'm not a social media
Yeah.
you know what I mean, but it's such a poison to society, right? I was at breakfast the other week, and just this little girl or boy or I don't know anymore.
Nowadays.
I don't know what to say anymore. But that person was like in front of everybody, bro, just jumping on tables and doing this and doing like, and I'm all for, bro, acting silly and do, you know what I mean? Like I'm that parents not even looking, and she was telling them to wait because she needed to make a video. She needed to make this video, and she was recording herself and doing this and recording herself doing that. Like, I think we said that on our first podcast that it breeds narcissism.
Yeah, man.
And this culture is so narcissistic in this. Everything revolves around me. People need to know what I'm doing. People need, and it's, you know what I mean? And what's sad is that there are people that are like, I'm going to wake up and jump on and see what Luch is doing. Let me see what his day is like. Let me see what that, and to me, I think that in itself brings us down, man, as not even as just black, white, as a society, like
as individuals too, man. Like it's not. I don't think because there's a great net benefit to it. You know, communication is extremely fast. You know what I mean? It's good for multitasking, but it's when you get too caught up into it that where you feel like you have to project every little single thing that you're doing at all times is when it becomes a detriment. And I think a good exercise that you can kind of do is kind of you have to look at yourself in the way you approach social media, and at the same time acknowledge how you're concerned about yourself and what you post, what you think people are going to say, and what they actually think. Like you have to think about how when someone else posts something that you just scroll past, you don't think anything of it because it's like our world, we're the center of our own world. And I don't think a lot of people realize that nobody really gives a fuck about what you had for breakfast or anything like that. Nobody gives a fuck about what you had about breakfast as much as you do.
But even more so, I think that because of the just immediate access to live streaming and this and that, it's kept nonsense like this H&M thing in the limelight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the important shit that happens though in society or in this world stays on the back burner.
It's not interesting enough for people,
bro.
man.
Honestly, it's terrifying because there's so much good happening, right? There's so much good happening in this world. And instead of highlighting that and making that the example for people to leech off of and to copy, they keep all the dumb shit in the forefront. They keep all the Doug, I saw, and I feel stupid for saying this, but I saw a fucking video. It was a fucking compilation video, like 6 minutes wasted of my life, of kids eating Tide.
Oh, that's the new shit.
Tide things. What are those called? Tide.
They're like
pods.
They're like laundry bombs or something
Doug,
like that.
What is that?
Why?
What is that?
But if you notice, they're not doing that on their own time. They're doing it while recording themselves. Here's what it comes down to, man. Here's really what I think it comes down to. I think our country, and we have a culture that's obsessed with fame, being famous. We have a celebrity problem, basically. Everyone wants to be
100,000 hits on YouTube, bro. I'm reading. I have this. It came up right now. 100,000 hits on YouTube of these kids. That's called the Tide Pod Challenge.
Tide Pod Challenge.
I didn't get the gender thing, the fucking lip thing.
Yeah.
I don't get these challenges.
Oh,
bro.
where they suck their lips out and
that
made
shit?
them super big.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. When I saw it, I'm like, this is fucking mind blowing. Yeah. I can't believe this. And then there's like the ice water challenge, and I was like, okay, I kind of get that. ALS. Yeah. So I get that. It's like, but then it's like, wait, we're eating Tide Pods?
Yeah, but okay, so let's go back to the ALS thing. Like, why? What is the correlation between ice water and ALS?
The shaking.
But I thought ALS was a situation where your body shuts down.
That's what it is.
Over time.
But I think it's getting a little of that feeling because that ice water like tenses you up, and I think that's the feeling that they always feel. Was the perception that I got of it, or was the definition that I had of it? But it was that feeling. Bro, I saw some kids throwing fucking hot water on each other. Did you see that?
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, they're throwing like boiling hot water on each other. Boiling hot water. I mean, it's the society that we're in is just breeding this, bro, over and over and over again, and it's just getting worse and worse. You know, I even was thinking about music. You know, as both of us just being passionate about music. I was listening to, like I said, Overly Dedicated, and just an incredible work of art. And how do you compare that to, I mean, a little, like a little Uzi, you know what I mean? It's almost different classes of music, but it doesn't add any value to anything.
Yeah, but then I guess I think it all comes down to perception too, man. You're gonna listen to what you're interested. What the hell? You're interested in. You're gonna be interested in. You're gonna listen to what you're gonna be interested in the most. So I think if you have thought about life in a certain aspect, and it's cool to listen to J. Cole and Kendrick talk about these stories about their struggles and things that they went through with being self-conscious about certain things and how to overcome that. But if you're just trying to look fresh and have these dreads and if that's all your worldview is, if that's how you see the lens, I mean, if those are the glasses that you're looking through the world at, then that's going to be what you want to hear. And I think that's where you get like these little pumps and the little Uzis and it's cool to be fucked up type shit. Like it's a very surface level description about life and what it's about.
And that's what I mean. Like their music is that, bro. And like it scares the shit out of me, you know, because a lot of kids aren't the motherfucking smartest. And if they're hearing, oh, get fucked up, you know, do Xanax and do lean and do, you know what I mean? Like, kids are easily influenced, man. And like that, and that's what scares me is that if that's all they're listening to, you know what I mean? It almost warps their mindsets.
Yeah.
It breeds more ignorance in every culture. You know what I mean? Like, and that in itself is scary. Like that in itself is scary because there is no more safety net, it seems like, in society, because everything is on social media. Everything is this and that. Like that's why these kids are getting so fucked up, because everything is on social media. There's so much. There's an incredible amount of suicides, like teen suicides, because social media. Right? They're getting bullied and this and that and this and that. And it's mind blowing.
They're trying to do something about that as well. Apparently, Facebook has this algorithm, or they're in the process of developing this algorithm because of like so many people, you know, hurt themselves and commit suicide off of social media. I can't remember exactly what syndrome it is, but when social media makes you depressed to the point to where you want to, you know, commit suicide, it's called something. So what Facebook, I guess, is in the process of developing is this algorithm that it keeps track of your post and your I guess your posting behavior.
Oh shit!
And if you cross the line a certain way, it'll notify, I think, the authorities or something like that. And the whole idea is for them to be able to get to you before you do something bad to yourself.
Oh man,
yeah,
that hits on a lot of fucking points though. What about privacy?
Oh man, see,
you're gonna be, but then again, you're putting this shit on the internet, and the internet is forever, bro. You put a picture of your dick out there, it's forever. It's forever.
In the ether, in the cloud.
Horrifying.
To me, I used to have this really, I guess, conservative view on privacy. And when I say conservative, I mean like, oh, I need my privacy. I used to put the fucking sticky note on my laptop.
I have it now.
You know? But now I'm to the point where it's like I really don't give a fuck, man. You know, if I'm really, and I think this has been part of my meditation lately too, is just like, if I'm really confident 100% in myself and my being, like, why do I care about whether it's the government or anybody looking at me?
But nonetheless, man, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Why do you want to be in my shit? You know what I mean? Like,
well, I understand that, but I think, don't you think the whole argument for privacy is you want time for no one else to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah, basically.
So if you really don't care about people knowing what you're doing, or I guess privacy, it almost seems to me like you want only reason you want privacy is because you're really hiding. You don't want people to see certain things or certain aspects about yourself.
What if you just watch some weird ass porno?
That's the thing, though. Some people would die. They would never want to let anybody know that they've ever watched any of that shit. And some people just don't give a fuck. Like, and that's a two different thing, depending on how you perceive it. So, that's what I think the basis of privacy comes from. I want this time for no one else to know what I'm doing because I'm ashamed of, or I just don't want to reveal this about myself.
I'd have to beg to differ, man. I really have to beg to differ because, I mean, my privacy is like this. Yeah, man, that's my right as a fucking American citizen to have my privacy.
Well, yeah, you can make that argument though too.
It is like, yeah, I'm not doing anything bad, bro. I'm smoking, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I watch some porno, but I ain't doing nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But again, I don't want you to listen to every single one of my conversations.
That's the thing, though.
You know what I mean?
That you are correct. That it is also your right to.
It's a violation, bro.
It is also your right to want to hide certain aspects of yourself from other people, which is completely okay. I guess. Have you ever seen that movie, The Circle, with Tom Hanks and I think her name is Emma Stone, the girl that plays Hermione? Well, it's a really good movie, and it's basically, the whole movie is based off of privacy. So they have like this big corporation. It's almost like Google, but it's called the Circle. And they invent it's almost like Google and Apple mixed, because they have devices, they have cameras, and what happens is the main guy of this company, his name is Tom Hanks. Well, he's Tom Hanks in real life. I don't know his name, but
I was like, shit, his name is Tom Hanks.
Nah,
easy,
he is Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks plays the character. But what he does is he puts these nano cameras everywhere.
Oh shit.
Everywhere. And when he presents it, it's almost like Apple's keynote thing where he's on stage and he's explaining the benefits of it, and then he goes, "Oh, well, what if you're by the beach and you want to know what the surf is looking like? You have to waste resources, you have to get up and walk down there, and there's potential for you to get hurt. But now,"
Jesus.
And it was a really clever one-syllable name that he named what this was. You know how Apple names iPhone and iThis? He had a name for it, and he goes, "Well, now here so-and-so is presented to you. So instead of having to go to the beach, or I can just sit here and pull up my device," and he had put cameras all over the beach so he can instantly there.
Christ.
And then and that's the whole thing about privacy. And the girl, Emma Stone, she starts working there, and then she's doing really good, moving up in the company. And so what she does is she goes, "I'm going to be the first one in human history to go transparent." So what that essentially means is she puts cameras everywhere. There's cameras everywhere she goes, and she opens up the live feed for people to open up on their devices and watch her what she's doing at all times. Like
What the fuck?
Like going to the restroom, brushing her teeth, when she's sleeping, conversation she has with her parents, and her entire life is constantly on live stream.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so she's the first one to quote unquote go transparent.
What?
Yeah, and of
fuck?
course
That's the whole movie.
That's what the entire movie's about. And at first she's really gung ho about it, but then you begin to see how not having any privacy wears down on her psychology. So I think, yeah, that's a good movie to watch and kind of, because it brings up certain situations that you don't know to think about.
My God, yeah,
and it's like, oh man, I would feel that way if people saw me do that. You know what I mean? And you get to see her kind of like avoid and change her behavior because she knows that the world is watching her. So
that's insane.
Yeah, it's a trip, man. It's a trip.
But I think that's exactly what's happening, is people are transparent. You know what I mean? Like they're posting just videos of themselves doing the dumbest shit and getting the most views.
But I don't think that's really who they are, though, man.
You don't think so?
I don't think.
You don't think that it transforms them? Look at my man Boot Gang.
Well, yeah, it transforms them, but that's not who they are base level. Like if you didn't have the ability to record yourself doing something, for a lot of these people, they wouldn't end up doing the actual thing because nobody's going to notice it, nobody's going to see it, and there's no potential for fame there. So, like, let me ask you this. Where do you draw the line in someone recording themselves? Because, like if you look at those European parkour guys, the ones that videotape themselves hanging off buildings and shit like that, I like watching that. I like seeing that stuff.
It's fucking scary.
But for some reason, it's different. Or like me, I'll post videos of me, doing a skateboard trick or something like that. So, but for some reason, I think there's a difference, or I feel a difference between watching something like that and watching like the Kylie Jenner lip challenge or like the kids eating the laundry soap. What do you think the actual difference could be?
Honestly,
or do you think there's a difference?
You would want to say, right, as somebody who enjoys sports. Mm-hmm. Because that's challenging, right? I mean, I guess it's not challenging to suck your lips through a fucking bottle or whatever the fuck they were doing. Mm-hmm. But I guess that is a great argument because I do want to watch motherfuckers hanging off the side of buildings and, or at the very peak of shit, these crazy hanging off of that shit. I do want to watch that, but it isn't any different than recording yourself running up and smashing into tables or you know what I mean, running up, fighting somebody for no reason type shit. I guess it isn't any different, but it's speaking to a different audience.
I mean, because they obviously get a lot of views and shit, right?
Yeah. They're obviously making great money from that. Yeah. But I think it's breaking down something in society, bro. It's making these kids more reckless.
We're losing
it's making these kids more disrespectful. We're losing something. When you can watch the parkour cats and you're like, oh shit, you could potentially be losing something because somebody could go out there and kill themselves. But you could be, what you're gaining is a little bit better in the sense of like people could be out there running or people could be out there instead of doing dumb shit, being staying in
instead of part of the audience.
Exactly. So I think that's what it is, man. I think that's almost what scares me is that's becoming the new norm. Yeah. All this whole thing of ignorance and putting everything out there and always having yourself out there is the new norm. Social media, this, a picture here every hour, this is the new norm, man. And so it's scary as all shit, man. It's scary as all shit.
Man, I had this conversation with my sister the other day. She was like, "Oh, Brandon, what if you were president? What was one of the first things you would do?" And of course, I was just trolling the shit out of her. I'm like, "Well, first of all, women, there's no minimum wage for them. Pay them as low as possible." Like I was just saying stupid shit, right? And then I was like Black Lives Matter and Ku Klux Klan, both of you guys can't exist. We're gonna put you on an island by yourselves. And then one of the things I said was, and another thing is, if you're over 35, you shouldn't be allowed to have social media. Because there's so many adults nowadays that like misuse it. I mean, they use it in such a corny way, bro. It's ridiculous. Like, and the way I look at it is like this. There was a stage where I was a kid, and social media came out when I was in high school, and it was the thing that all the teens and the kids were doing. It's a kid thing. Like, if you're an adult, you don't have social media. But then it's kind of like, well, adults start seeing us do these certain things, and it almost seems like they're going through some kind of midlife crisis, and they want to revamp their youth, which I can't knock them for, but
of course.
But it's like, once you get a certain age, you're like, social media, that's as a kid, like, that's not cool anymore. It's not hip to be on social media. But now it's like the parents reach down and they grab social media. So 35. Yeah, it used to be that the parents were upset at the kids for using social media. Now the kids look at parents using social media as a corny thing. Like, Mom, Dad, nobody does that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, or at least they don't do it the right way.
Everybody just wants to be involved, man.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to be heard, which is partly why we're doing this. Why me and you are sitting down doing this, man, because everybody just needs to be doing something. Everybody needs to be heard. Everybody needs to be, look at me, hey, everybody look at me. Like, and it's become to that point because, yeah, like you said, back in the day, it was like, hey, kids do their shit, parents do their shit.
Yeah.
Now it's like parents are doing kid shit, and sometimes embarrassing their kids, and sometimes doing the most, bro.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that sense of freedom, of that sense of
I can put myself out there.
Look at me, and everybody should listen to me. Everybody should look at me. This is important to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I was listening to something about GoFundMes, right? And there's so many fake GoFundMes.
People just getting money.
Dog, yeah, just getting money on some just, oh, look, this is my pity story. This is my
on some give me money type shit. Yeah.
What's your perspective on these GoFundMes? Even the real GoFundMes.
On those specific GoFundMes.
Or whatever you call those.
I guess you can't knock it. You know what I mean? I think it's just frustrating because you have a lot of people that will read that shit, give in, and actually give somebody money for that shit. For just
does that?
Or they're putting their pity story up.
What kind of a person does that?
Would give someone like that money?
Well, what kind of a person goes on a GoFundMe? Have you been on a GoFundMe?
I've never been on a GoFundMe.
Yeah, me either, right?
Other than like the real, like, oh, we need money to raise for this funeral, because I've seen those, and I'm like, okay, I understand that to an extent, but
do you ever think that though? Like, what type of people? Right. So yesterday, at our employers
meeting,
you know, that we had this meeting, and they said that they're gonna base our pay off of the market and the surveys that they've taken, and or some shit, right?
Yeah.
But it made me think, right? What kind of a person takes a survey? Right?
Do you take time?
Let's be real with ourselves.
Yeah.
Have you took a survey?
Never.
How many times have you took a survey?
Never.
Bro, I hop on Call of Duty, and every 3-4 games it'll say, there it is.
Skip the survey.
It'll say you've been selected. No.
I don't got time for this shit.
Never, dog. Never. They've always said, hey, leaving the grocery store, hey, if you take this survey, you could be entered into win this. Or if you take this survey,
fuck you.
Starbucks,
I'm going home.
Take this survey. Never. What? Who takes a survey? I see a middle-aged white man, potentially thinning hair, right? Fat wife.
Nowhere to go.
Kids that hate him for sure. Drives like a 1993 Volvo. Nothing wrong with that car. It's a good car. Hates his job. That's it. Has nothing going on with his life, and just no direction, no ambition. That's who takes a survey. So that's who they're basing
the entire spectrum off of. Is this small?
For everybody.
This small sample.
Who takes a survey,
people.
Bro?
Yeah, because
who takes a survey?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. You do have to be a certain type of person to do certain things like that. You know what I mean? Like I've always said, you have to be a certain type of person, base level, to be a police officer.
Absolutely.
Like, and so with surveys, you have to be a certain type. Your mentality and your brain works a certain way that allow you to stop and say, oh, you know what, I will take this survey. You know what I mean? And not everybody, and people like you, me, or other people, you can just tell the difference in having a 5-minute conversation with somebody. They're not fucking with no
But
survey.
what does that say? Does that say that you got to look at it from two ways? Because you got to look at it from one way. That's fucked up because they're basing everything, all of our shit, off of what this small group is doing. Or does that say we as a people who recognize that should be taking surveys because we understand the ramifications of this dumb motherfucker doing this?
That's what I feel like. That's kind of how I feel about maybe I don't feel this way, but that's kind of bringing up the whole voting argument. Should you vote? Is it you should vote because you have the right to, you know what I mean? Like,
oh man,
the only people I know that vote are two people. They're rarely people who actually, understand politics and policy. Ooh. Rarely, very, very rarely will you find someone who, you know what, I'm gonna vote for Trump because of this, or I'm gonna vote for Hillary because they're looking into this policy and this therefore will affect the economy this way. I'm fairly confident, bro, that at least 90% of voters are the ones who vote based off of identity politics, solely off of whose personality they like or don't like, and they vote based on their perceptions of these people, very surface level, and it's not, yes. And it's never really who is actually the better decision maker. So I really think I think that is a lost cause, man, because like people that take those surveys, it's a small sample size, and the rest of us have to live with the ramifications for that.
But see, on the other side, if you are one of those people that take these surveys that vote, right? And this was a question that I had just recently, that I asked somebody whom I trust. Mm-hmm. He was a very, very logical thinker, and I said, do you think these people who take these surveys and end up finding out like, oh my God, I should have rated this higher because this is making everybody get paid $12 an hour, or whatever the case might be, and or even let's say with a more current, more in your face thing with Trump, right?
Right.
I asked, do you think that there are Trump voters that are regretting it right now? The gung ho, like, oh my God, Trump's my guy, like just backtracking, thinking like, oh man, I made a horrible I mean, don't get me wrong, right? The other side wasn't the best.
Yeah.
Shit, you know what I mean? They
I'm sure
God knows what should have happened.
I'm sure there's people that fall on all sides of it. I'm sure there's people who voted for Hillary, were mad that she didn't win, but actually like what Trump is. I'm not saying by any means a large amount of people, but I'm sure you'll find somebody who regrets the decision that they've made. Like I'm sure, but I think there's certain layers in it. I think there's a certain amount of people who are maybe within that 10% thought Trump was going to do something, act one way and enact certain policies, and he didn't do it, and now they actually regret it. Now I think there's an even bigger group of people who regret it, but they'll never admit it. They'll never admit it. That's, and then of course you have the larger spectrum who have no fucking idea of what's going on. They're just riding with their boy DT to the end. Riding with that nigga to the end. So that's what I think about that, man.
It's just, I mean, there's so much more, man. It's mind blowing because I look around, man, and like I said, I wake up and I didn't used to fuck with the news a lot. I didn't, you know what I mean? I didn't shit. By the time I'm waking up at 3 in the fucking morning, like, it's not much time for the news. But now I seem to take a lot of time to just, it's almost like, let's see what happened. Or not even, bro. Even more short term, like, let's see what happened while I was sleeping. For I don't sleep much, bro, for like 4 or 5 hours. Let's see what happened. And it's always like you open shit up and you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. you think like in such short time, like there's so much happening. How does the good stuff, or how does the important stuff get filtered to, or even
how do you know? Like, how do you know what's good, what's real, what's manufactured? I mean, I think that's why people don't take. I mean, I guess because we were talking about earlier how where people are so busy paying attention to social media and all these different challenges and not paying attention to the important shit like who's running for office, what they're doing. And I think the reason for that is, bro, is we don't know what's real when it comes to that level anyway. When it comes to endeavors of the country and the world, we don't know what's real and what's not real when it comes to that level. So it's kind of like, well,
Do you think, or you don't think that we just ignore what's important? You don't think that we maybe even just try to look the other way because it's easier?
yeah, but I think there's a lot of that, but I just still think at the base level, I don't think we know what's real or not due to like social media and all these different due to the internet and anyone be able to post any story that they want to. I mean, I can completely manufacture some bullshit. Like I can manufacture an article saying a meteor is gonna hit Earth, make it look legit, and say, oh, like scientists find 50 mile.
Do you think that's what all this is?
Yeah, I think a lot of that happens.
Crazy, man.
So it's kind of like, I know for me anyway, we get used to seeing these kind of like stories that don't hold any weight. These stories that say extravagant things that should be important, but it's like, oh, that's probably not real. I'm just gonna continue scrolling.
I just think but see, there's so much. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and it really is that, right? It's just what do you? I mean, and people don't know how to just read it and keep pushing, right? And it's more so like let me read it and then give my opinion on it, and then really, what's crazy to me right now is because it's and I think I saw this. I'm not sure where I saw this, but it said like people who talk talking about Trump, and they're like a TV personality, millionaire, this that shouldn't be president.
Mm-hmm.
And then now 2018 they're saying Oprah should be president. I gotta ask, bro. I have to ask.
Fuck no. Well, I don't know. To be honest, I really don't know. I'm to the point, man, where I think that it doesn't matter who's president. We've already built this system.
Joe Rogan keeps saying Elon.
But then again, Elon's only good at inventing stuff. You know what I mean? Well, I don't know if that's only what he's good at, but I don't think it really matters because, like, take North Korea for example. Ooh. Do you know how if you're a citizen of North Korea, what one of your weekly requirements is to like tell government or Kim Jong whoever what your neighbor did right and what they did wrong.
Yes.
So it's kind of like a group of accountability, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of individuals who want to like, everybody knows this isn't right, but it's the fear of, okay, if I'm the first one, I'm probably going to be the one that dies, and that's what keeps everybody content.
Jesus.
So what was I going to relate that to just now? What was I going to relate that to? It was just like 11 seconds ago.
It really was. I lost you in North Korea.
Right before North Korea, I was going to relate that to something. People don't want to poke their head out, so we're stuck. The presidency, right? Okay, so that's essentially what I think government is. I think you may have good intentions of the way the world should be, but you as an individual, once you become part of the system, there's too much individualism within the system, and there's not enough group effort to actually implement change. You know what I mean? Because let's say you get elected, into some seat, it no longer becomes of what you think about the world, because that's your livelihood. This is how you get paid. This is how you feed your family. So since that's your livelihood, it's no longer an avenue for free, open ideas of what's actually good. It's okay, what can I do to appear good? What can I do to appear that I'm being good at my at my job, essentially. So if you're the president, once you're in there, you're already a part of this system. It's not like you can just get in there and flip the lights on and off on policies. You still have to deal with this existing group that was already here for years.
Would you want that job?
No, I wouldn't want a job. I wouldn't want to be president because
I don't think anybody, like Joe Rogan said it, man. I don't think anybody who
wants
to be president should be president.
I mean, I do feel, however, that I know I feel confident in my ability to have the free world operate very fairly and morally. But if I'm gonna try to force things to be fair and force things to be moral, there would be no free will involved. You know what I mean? There would be a lot. There would be a lot of people that are upset with policies that I implement. Like one of the things I would do, for example, is I would reallocate the military budget, and I would make sure everybody at least has I guess rights to health because the money's already there. But I do know that you can deem that as quote unquote socialist, anti-capitalist. I understand that. I get that, which isn't really right. I shouldn't be able to force people to pay into this thing, and I get that. But it's kind of like if I would look at society as a car. In order for this car to run efficiently, I'm gonna have to do certain things to the car that I may not necessarily want to do. You know what I mean? And certain different parts of the car are probably gonna be compromised because of that. And there's just really no avoiding that because people are so different. But I know damn sure what to do in order to keep the car running. My bank account may not like it, but if I want to keep this car running, this is what I have to do.
I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And yeah, not everybody's gonna like that shit, but bro, you gotta admit, it's a lot of fucked up shit.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a lot, and I think that in itself gives people more of the right to complain and more of a right to, but it seems like nobody's doing anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it just seems like everybody's on this.
It's too big, man. It's too big. It's become too diluted. Because back in the day, the essential function of government was if we lived in a town and we didn't like where the stop sign was because people are getting into accidents, what we would do is we would get together with people in our community and we would go down to the city hall and we could lobby, protest, and demand that the mayor do something and like inflict actual change that directly affects our direct surroundings. Now that the country's gotten so big, that type of responsibility and accountability has gotten diluted. You know, the larger a group gets, the more diluted responsibility within those individuals gets. So that's why in bigger cities like New York, people may seem to come across as short and mean. It's because there's too many fucking people to deal with. You know what I mean? It's not close to home. It's not, you know. So, but I do agree with Rogan when he says there should not be one person. There should be at least be a committee of people. Yeah, a committee of maybe like 50 people.
That's a heavy job.
Yeah,
bro.
Yeah.
That's a heavy fucking job. And it seems, and it's like I couldn't imagine that somebody wanting something immediate and everything. You know what I mean? Like they just. But then again, it's incredible to see how much like misdirection is happening. It's incredible to see how much. I couldn't say wrong, man, because I don't know what the fuck is right. I guess right?
Nobody does. That's the thing, man.
Opting out of certain things, and it just to me it just seems wild. Right?
Yeah.
But I mean, and the direct access to social media is fucking wild, bro. I've never in the history of presidents that like has that ever happened.
Yeah,
could you imagine, right? Like my favorite president of all time, one of the greatest men of all time, Teddy Roosevelt. I've read books on him. It's just an incredible human being.
He's the president that set aside public lands, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Public land.
Compared to something like a Donald Trump. Like just think about, man. I mean, just think about the direction that title takes the country into, and imagine somebody saying something on social media and being able to get a response from the president of the United States of America.
And isn't it also crazy that
the accessibility?
Isn't it also crazy that because we're not used to seeing a lot of people be more articulate and more majestic as a president, but now I feel like Trump. I can walk down the street and find someone who's more articulate and more well, I guess rounded than the president, which
do you think that
we've never had that before either.
Is it because we just came off of Obama, who was this super articulate, super educated, super well spoken guy. Do you think that it almost magnifies
Probably. And
it?
I'm not gonna sit here and say that Obama was the greatest in this, but purely off of like personality, just the social interaction that you're able to have with this guy. I think it's completely different when it comes to Trump.
Did you vote for him, for Obama?
Nah, fuck no, bro.
Damn, have you voted in your lifetime?
Hell no, man.
Damn, yeah, neither have I.
Hell no. I mean, because I figured the most that I can do, man, is if I saw that who my vote actually counted, then it might be a different thing. And even if your vote actually counts, you don't necessarily know the true motive behind who you're voting for. Right. The country's too big. They don't give enough transparent information for you to actually know what their true intentions are. So it's yeah, I may think you have the great intentions, but I don't know you personally. I don't know what goes on in your head. So therefore, I just feel like it's a lost cause. You just gotta hope for the best, man.
Some scary stuff, man. The whole thing, society. I'm high as fuck, to be honest with you.
It's all right, man.
I got lit.
So I think it's a good place to wrap it.
Yeah, I was trying to think how to close it up. What do you think how we can close it up?
Let's wrap this shit up.
Wrap it up. Nah, man, it definitely there's so much more to talk about.
Yeah.
But it's pretty solid though. It's pretty solid.
All right, folks. I guess we're gonna put this one up on the page, and tune in sometime soon because we're gonna be talking about a lot of more other shit. We're probably gonna get a little bit more offensive as this goes on.
We'll have to.
Yeah, we definitely have to get a little bit more offensive. Not we have to, but I just think it's the right thing to do to give people this shock of what reality actually is. So yeah, make sure you tune in to the page, like it, subscribe it. I really don't care, but it's just as long as you hear what we're saying. And hopefully you can relate to it. So yeah, you guys have a good weekend.